Welcome to the 58th edition of Spooky Reviews from Spooky Ventures. This time we're going to be talking about the new Blu-Ray release of the Dunwich horror that has come from Arrow Video. Now I have to admit that the movie is actually one that I really enjoy a lot. It's also one that's really a bone of contention among Lovecraft fans. I guess a little background might be appropriate here. I'm a big fan of the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. In fact, my first book was The Strange Sound of Cthulhu, music inspired by the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. In the course of writing that book, I got pretty well entrenched in the world of Lovecraft fandom, and I've heard a lot of the chatter in that universe. The talk about the Dunwich horror is not positive overall. In fact, to many it seems the movie is an embarrassment, and I think that's somewhat unfair. The movie, which was released in 1970, is loosely adapted from H.P. Lovecraft's story of the same name. Now, I think the loosely part is probably the biggest part of the bone of contention with Lovecraft fanatics. To be fair, though, other than the two films that were done by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society, every Lovecraft film adaptation is a loose interpretation. Some are looser than others, but still. Now, I'd say that the Dunwich horror takes less liberties with the material than some films do. Much of Lovecraft's mythos remains intact, which is actually an improvement on a lot of the other films based on his work. Now, that said, many of those are not actually centered around the actual mythos story portion of his works. Still, the fact that the whole cosmic horror concept of old ones waiting to return is intact is a positive to this film, I think. Now, they do take some liberties in terms of the rituals required to bring the old ones back. For one thing, they add a fertility ritual sort of element to it. There's a lot of almost Crowleyan magic in the mix, too. Actually, that brings up one issue I do have with this particular release. The cover of this Blu-ray features an upside-down cross, bringing with it expectations of satanic content. Now, while I personally have no problem with such imagery and connotations in general, it's really misleading here. Lovecraft's mythos in his writings does not even include any kind of belief in Satan, and the movie also sort of scoffs at such a being's very existence. I'm not sure who thought that was a great idea for the cover of the Blu-ray, or exactly what their thinking was, but if I had to guess, I would imagine that they had never actually watched the movie. Back to the actual film, it is really a product of the 1960s, and there are plenty of psychedelic elements in place to show it. I love how that psychedelic thing is used to try to give us a visual image of horrors that are so alien that the human mind can't process them. I suppose just on the lighter side, that is really a big aspect of what psychedelia is about anyway, experiencing things beyond our normal perceptions. So I suppose from that point of view, it really seems an appropriate use, even though it's on the dark side, and it works well. The cast is all solid, but the stars, Sandra, Dean Stockwell, and Ed Begley, really shine. The film does take more liberties with some of the characters, particularly Wilbert Whateley. But I'm really not sure how filmable the demi-human Whateley would have been in 1970, really. Sure, this movie is weird, but then again, the school of horror that Lovecraft's work lives within is called weird fiction or weird horror. Now, as a horror film, I think this is fairly unique, although it does have some familiar beats and tropes. It has its share of creepy moments and scares as well. This release features a new restoration from the original film negative, and I have to say that it does look and sound better than the previous versions I own. It also includes a number of bonus features. Of course, you get the usual audio commentary. There's also an image gallery and a trailer. For me, though, the three featurettes are the most interesting things in terms of bonuses. Now, two of those focus basically on Lovecraft's work and how the film fits within the legacy, and the third is all about the music of the film. And that music, by the way, I think is really stunning. It reminds me a lot of times of the Omega Man soundtrack, which I also really like. As always, I doubt you'll come back to the bonus features as often as you'll watch the film, but there are some quality ones here. So the final word is this: if you've never seen the Dunwich Horror, give it a try. It is a product of its time, and from the point of view of Lovecraft purists, it is packed full of liberties being taken with the material. But if you have an open mind, you'll find that they got some interesting things right, too. Perhaps is enough to make it feel somewhat familiar even to Lovecraft fans. For those who have dismissed it in the past, it might be time to give it a new try with an open mind. And for those like myself who are fans of the film, this is a great addition. It's worth the upgrade, I think. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.